Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Begins with Mom podcast. This is Dorit Palvanov, your host. Today on the show, we are going to be talking about, so today is another segment of the on-air coaching where I am going to air a coaching session I have had with an amazing mother, a woman, wife and mother. And the topic today is when your business competes with your baby. And I think this is so relevant, especially to us mamas, new mothers who are just stepping into this role, maybe not so new of a role, just like in Melissa's case. But nevertheless, a very important role, and how all of that is being sort of like explored in terms of who you are becoming and how this affects your life. So if you are new to me and to this show, on this show, this is where we talk about the intersection between your health as a woman and mother and wife, but also as a female. I am interested in your sacred work in your home and in your family as a wife and mother, and how all of that is standing in the way of tapping into your life's work as a healer, creative, as somebody who is here to express and here to serve and here to heal the world, right? That's why this show is called Health Begins with Mom, because I truly believe that the health of the world begins in each and every one of our homes. First and foremost, when we women choose ourselves first, always, and then we bring that into our marriage, we bring that into our parenting, and that's how we are able to inspire and uplift and heal our homes, our communities, and then, of course, the world at large. Before we get into the show, just wanted to remind everybody, if I mention any links or resources, you can always find them in the show notes by heading over to my website. So www.healthbeginswithmom.com/ep-89. And also a reminder, the Health Begins with Mom Mastery program is now open for enrollment. This is a 6-month course where we are diving deep. If you are familiar to my work and you've been listening here for a long time, you know that I'm all about the depth. Not so much about spreading yourself wider, but more deeper. And so I would love to support you in your evolution as a woman. Most of the women who work with me would be already familiar with personal development work. They are reading books, they listen to podcasts, they might have done some kind of a coaching in the past, or maybe therapy, and so they are open and they are curious. And what I do with them, it's we are going to take what you know, and I'm going to teach you how to not only think, but also to feel, how to bring the work of embodiment into your home, into your life, and how to take your health mission that you have, and whatever it is, every one of us has a different health mission, right? And when I say health, you guys already know, I refer to health in a holistic way, right? So your emotional health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your mental health, all of that, and how you enroll your world, your family, your partner, your coworkers, your friends, your family members into your health mission. And from that, of course, how to thrive and spark that joy that is just, it can feel as though we have lost it. And so if this is something that is itching at you, and you are super curious, I would love to connect with you. So please head on over to my website, again, www.com. Sorry, what am I saying? www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply. Fill out the application on the page and we will get on the phone. All right, so today's on-air coaching call is actually one that I wasn't even sure that I wanted to share with the world, because like I said, the topic of breastfeeding is extremely touchy and it's sensitive in the life of mothers, and you will see by listening to the call, my advice for Melissa at the end is one that you wouldn't really expect to hear from someone who advocates health. Some of you know that I am a retired pediatric nutritionist and feeding expert. And feeding children is just something really near and dear to my heart. So I had to sit a lot of time with this decision whether I should air it or not. And eventually, well, obviously, I decided to air it because I'm here to serve you. And if there is one mama who's struggling with this, I am sure that there are many more out there who can resonate. So I had to remind myself that this is not about me and that playing small or hiding is not helpful to anyone. So today you will meet Melissa, who is a wife and mother of 4 boys under the age of 3, and her struggle with breastfeeding. Melissa is a photographer and she loves her job dearly, and motherhood is something she is still learning to navigate and grow with and from. Before we get into the actual call, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. As the last 5 minutes of the call, you will hear some background noise as Melissa's kids come home, coming back home with her babysitter. So either way, I hope you can excuse the noise and focus on the fact that this is real life. Plus it sounded super cute. So enjoy. As you listen, please consider these questions. What is it about your business that is so hard for you to slow down and let go of in order to focus on your family? Do you also feel like breastfeeding is your chance to explore motherhood and womanhood? And if you don't do that, you are less of a woman or less of a mother? Do you find yourself comparing your own unique situation to other mothers who did breastfeed, and do you interpret it as being less than or not good enough of a mother? Do you feel like you don't trust yourself in making a decision to breastfeed versus bottle feed? Do you feel like you're going to regret your choice down the road? And then also think, what are you learning about yourself from this conversation and this internal struggle? Because this is an opportunity for growth and introspection. And then also think, what are you afraid of? Are you also afraid of change like Melissa? Have you also been the child who was trained to clean their plate? You will see as the call progresses, we will get to talk about Melissa's own issues with food and eating. And then the harshest questions of all. Do you also think that is it possible that you didn't try it hard enough? What if there is something that you could do in order to increase your milk supply? So have all these questions in mind as you consider to my conversation with Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
All right, so let's begin with your question. What do you need help with?
Breastfeeding, of course. That's like the question every new mom has. I need help with breastfeeding.
And give me some more details. What do you mean breastfeeding? Maybe tell the listeners about your family, about your kids, how many kids you have, all that.
Okay. So, well, I am a mom of 4. And when I say 4, I mean like 4 crazy little boys that are wild and fun. And they are not spaced very far apart. My oldest is going to be turning 4 in 2 months. And then I have twin boys that will be turning 3 in a month. And then, wait, I keep saying they're turning 3. They're not turning 3, they're turning 2. I'm so bad.
You're ahead of
I can't
yourself.
quite remember the age of my children. Isn't that horrible? This whole year I've been telling people that my twins are going to be turning 3, and they're not. They're not even 2.
You wish them to be. You wish them to be.
Yeah, they act older than they are, obviously. And then the baby just turned 3 months. So we live in a rural area, and I am blessed enough to own my own business as a photographer and basically work from home, but I also have a studio, and I have a babysitter 2 days a week. And my mom comes and helps me a little bit. So I have lots of help, but the breastfeeding thing isn't really something anyone can help with for like the act of doing, unless, we install wet nursing in the USA, which I would totally be on board for, by the way.
Right. Okay. So when you say breastfeeding, is it that you are challenged to produce milk, or is it the act of feeding a child? What in breastfeeding exactly is difficult for you?
Well, so, this sounds horrible to me to say, but I feel like it competes with my business. And as a mom, that's like, you don't want to say that your business competes with your baby. So I think that's where I struggle most, is because, my milk supply was doing fairly good, but with all my kids around this age frame, it's like my milk supply just drops off. And part of me is like, obviously it's because my business is high stress. Like, I'm one woman doing a lot. And another part of me is like, this happens with every kid. Maybe it's just you. So,
Right.
And not knowing if this is my last child, I really wanted, I kind of assumed that I would be able to just get it done and enjoy that those times. But it's hard to enjoy it when they arch their back and they're screaming, and it's not fun when they're hungry, and everyone tells you, just breastfeed more, just breastfeed more.
Right.
And you're like, he's just hungry. Like, he's happy when I give him a bottle.
And isn't it the most difficult, annoying things to hear? The baby's hungry, feed it. It's like, it's the most I get it. I hear it. I know exactly what you mean. I've been through. So it's almost like it's the classic, not to say, I don't say it in a way to put your challenge down or belittle it. That's not why I say it. It's just that this is, as mothers who are giving birth, we're giving birth to this, to these little people, and then it's our responsibility to take care of them. And in the beginning, it's in the form of literally feeding them, like keeping them alive, right? So I hear it. I get it. So why don't we, with your permission, of course, why don't we begin with, so you said that I love how you actually use that in a sentence. I feel like my business competes with I feel like breastfeeding competes with my business. So it's almost like you are putting these two areas that are very, very important in your life, right? So your business and then breastfeeding, almost like on a scale. And it's almost like you have to decide which one you're doing. It's either this or that. So does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Like, especially like during the day, because it's, I mean, you and I had talked about like your hormone level, even breastfeeding. It's just, it's not, it's an amazing, beautiful process. And I love how it, it's designed to make back and relax. But every 2 hours of the day, when you have 3 other children running around, it's literally becomes a business. Like, it becomes a job.
Yes. And then what happens is, it's interesting because the other day I was talking to my mother-in-law, and she was sharing how one of her children, when she had them, she was under a lot of stress as well. And so she used the term of, when she was feeding that child, one of her sons, that milk was almost like it was not good, like it was sick, or it was poisoned or something like that. Like it was toxic. I think that's the word that she used. Energetically, not literally, right?
Yeah.
Because when we are, breastfeeding, it's beyond the fact that it is the best nutrition for your baby, right? The best source of nutrition. Other than that, the fact that, this baby is on your breast and you're holding it, this is an opportunity for relationship building. This is where it starts. Or so we are sold as mothers to believe. I personally have bottle fed all of my 3 babies, all of my 3 girls. And the act of feeding them through a bottle was also I felt very deeply connected to them, so it's not so much the breast and, feeding the baby through the breast. It's the relationship. It's the energy that is going on. And so it sounds like for you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like for you, because your energy is just so, it's just, you don't have too much of it, right? You're raising 4 kids plus a business. So in a business, and you and I know business, it's like another baby. So essentially you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
And taking care of that requires energy. On top of that, as mothers, we have to keep our homes running. We have laundry, we have food, we have meals to prepare. Like, all of this is consuming a lot of our energy, our bandwidth, right? Essentially, as human beings. And then we have our husbands, that we want to be in relationship with, right? And they have their needs. And also we have our own needs. And so it sounds like to me that you are just, it's like, these memes showing a mother juggling all the things.
Yeah.
It's that. And it sounds like you feel like you need to make a choice.
Yeah.
So, right. So I want to take you to the place, of course, with your permission, and you take this wherever you want to go. But your business, so breastfeeding, I kind of get it. Like, we all as mothers get why this is important and why we don't want to let this go. But then just because you have put these 2, business and breastfeeding, on a scale, I would like to explore, what is it about your business that you feel is so near and dear to you? Because, some moms will tell you, it's okay, now that you're raising kids, put that aside, and then you can always revisit it.
Yeah.
And so go with it.
I've had friends that have done that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to be honest, like, I am the only one, other than another friend who actually passed away. I'm the only one from my college group that has stuck it out, who's had a family. Like, I'm the only one out of my whole class of photography students. Because, I mean, it was a small school, but, you know, we all kept in contact. And, like, I mean, the other ones who have stuck it out don't have families. They only have them to think about. So, I mean, like, my first baby was my photography business. And, like, I've always craved connection. And I think you've seen from, like, my posts and who I am, like, connection is a huge thing, and getting to know people is a huge thing. But when it comes to, I've been to be present in other people's lives so much that being present in my own life with my own kids has been very difficult. So, I mean, I don't know, like, part of breastfeeding is hard for me because, you know, I can talk and I can see that connection all day long, talk about it. But, you know, for me to actually be present with the kids is hard. And I think, like, because this could be the last one, like, I feel like I won't have another chance.
Okay, so let's deconstruct this chance, because you know that this is a feeling. This is a feeling. So it's almost like you want to feel in a certain way. So when you say that I'm missing a chance, this is my last chance. A last chance for what? To do what?
I don't know if this sounds odd, but I'll just say it. Like, I look at my mom and my sister, and their lives are so different from mine. But I feel like last chance to like put that relationship first. And that's like a bad way to say it. Like, last chance to really maybe explore that option of being more of a, you know, like, I feel like with my business, it's always been a balance, like business and mom, like maybe put the mom side first a little bit more. Like, I've watched my mom and my sister, and even it's funny because, like, I don't want their lives, but I admire them too, like putting so much time and energy into breastfeeding, and their kids are their lives. But I mean, it's like, have contradictory feelings about it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, it's not what I want, but I feel like I'm always comparing myself to that. Like, I had to ask my mom if she was judging me for not breastfeeding, and she's like, no, Melissa, like, you do what you need to do. It's not like your baby's sick. It's not like, but yet I still felt like I was comparing myself to her.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like you're looking for permission. Is it true? Like, to me, again, you correct me if I'm wrong, because I know this is a very touchy subject, so I don't want to make assumptions. So is it that you feel like you are, if it was possible anywhere, let's say God was here with you, okay, the creator, and he or she would give you the permission to not breastfeed, would you go with it?
I would, but I would still have that feeling of maybe not all in trusting, if that makes sense. And that sounds weird because I'm like, yeah, I trust God, but I don't quite trust myself.
Okay. So that's, I really want to acknowledge your honesty, because, you know, the common thread of these conversations that I'm having here with women, the common thread is embodiment. And what embodiment is really, in essence, it's getting out of your head and getting more into your body. right? So it's the listening to the intuition and to the wisdom of your body. So you've shared with me that you struggle with milk production. It's almost like your body is communicating with you, right? So I
Yeah.
know for many women, it's almost like a never-ending circle, right? I feel this way, hence my breast, my body doesn't produce the milk, and then it's almost like it's a never-ending circle, right? Where does it begin and where does it end? But it
Yeah.
all begins really with the thought, right? It all begins in the head. The moment you're able to
Yeah.
move away from what's in the head, from this loop, then you're able to drop into the body and embody whatever decision you are choosing on taking.
And I think that's where I get caught up is like, am I going to regret whatever I'm choosing here? And I mean, maybe it's on a deeper level than breastfeeding, right? Like, I feel like that's the action that I'm associating this with is breastfeeding, you know? Um, I like it all comes back to Melissa not trusting Melissa.
Right. Yeah. So you're familiar with the term FOMO, right?
Yeah.
Fear of missing out. So
That's
it
me
sounds,
to a T always.
and it's not just you, it's the majority of women. I feel like with women it's with men too, men have it too, but culturally we're so conditioned to second guess ourselves and doubt our decisions, because somebody else is smarter than you. Somebody listen to them, follow their advice. So that fear of missing out, it sounds to me like you're afraid. Underneath all of this is really fear. So then, have you ever asked yourself the question in your journal, maybe, what are you afraid of?
I'm contrary to what I think a lot of people who know me think about me, is I am terrified of change. And it's like I'm terrified of changing any type of change, really. Like, I'm the person who I've gone to Mexican restaurants my whole life, and I have never ordered anything different than a cheese enchilada because I'm terrified that I'm going to order something and I'm not going to like it, and then I'm going to be hungry. So I'm 32 years old and I've never ordered anything else other than cheese enchiladas at Mexican restaurants.
Okay. It's interesting. You brought in an example from the world of food and feeding, right? Which is what we're talking about today. Okay.
Yeah, and I have a ton of fear around food. Like, actually, like, I'm always terrified that I'm not going to have enough food. Like, whenever I go out to eat, like, this is funny. This is coming up because I've never really thought about it too much. I've always just said, well, that's Melissa. Like, I was the kid that my mom and dad would be like, now, Melissa, are you sure you want to order can you just share chicken strips with your sister? I'm like, no, I'm going to be hungry. And they're like, well, you better eat it all. So like, I make sure that I ate it all. Like, I was like trained like as a kid to eat everything on my plate. I think most of us were, right?
Yeah.
Like, learning how to trust yourself on taking as much food as you need, but I would always overtake. And then I'd stuff myself. So I don't know how that came up, but it did.
Yeah. So you see how you yourself brought us to your childhood and to your somewhat of a relationship dynamic between you and your mom, or maybe you and your parents, and how this is still playing at the back of your head affecting you, who you are, who you know, your mothering, your decisions, your day-to-day energy, because this wasn't resolved yet. This wasn't healed yet.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of it all, I mean, we've talked about quite a lot of things here today, but I'm going to ask you, what is it that you think that you need to heal from? Or what is it that you need to learn to embody?
I'm thinking. Trying to feel so then think. I think I need to embody that, you know, what's wrong with being hungry at times. Like, to be honest, like, there's more than just one way. Like, there's more than just a cheese enchilada to fill your appetite. There's more than just breast milk. There's more than just one type of bonding.
Exactly. It's almost like it's my way or the highway. And if it's not done my way, then it's not done. You know?
Yeah. And I think, like, going back to, like, my mom and dad always asking me, I mean, really, like, I always looked to them to tell me the answer, but they were just constantly asking me, "Are you sure?" And they'd let me, they wouldn't say, "No, you're getting half of an order." They said, "Okay, make sure if that's what you order, you need to eat it all." And, you know, I was I always want to put the answer in someone else's hands, because then I have a finger not pointing at me if it's not right.
Right. And if that finger is pointing at you, then what? What do you make it mean about you? About you, about who you are, about who you're becoming? What does it mean if the finger is pointing at you?
It means that I have to basically accept, like, whatever happened. It means that I have to answer to myself. Like, I'm really good at answering to other people. Like, I avoid answering to myself a lot. Um, it means that, I am going to fail. I'm not perfect. It means that um, I'm going to have to be uncomfortable with maybe some decisions I make. And, and in turn, like, it actually means something good. Like, I'm going to have the chance to grow and not piggyback on other people's decisions.
Right. So that is again, you're in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the rational answer to give me. But what I was looking for is, if I am wrong, if the finger points at me, that means I am wrong. That means I'm not good enough. That means I'm bad. Like, if you're thinking like a child, right?
Yeah.
That's what kids, that's how as children, we that's how we interpret things.
Yeah. And that's true. That's all true. Like, I mean, if the finger points at me, then I failed, realistically. Like, that's how I feel. Like, my decision wasn't good.
So
Like,
so it all so it begins with small silly things, right? Like, choosing the same Mexican food always your entire life.
yeah.
And then it also manifests in bigger things, like choosing how to feed my child? What is the right way for me? You know, taking into consideration my current life circumstance, everything, you know, my energy, my hormone levels, my own level of nourishment, all of this, you know, is playing out into you needing to make a decision for you. And this is not something that somebody else can decide, right? It's you.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't do
yeah,
that.
tell me.
You just even saying that, like, makes me like just want to laugh it off and be like, of course, Melissa has to decide, you know? And I avoid decisions like that. Like, avoid even dumb decisions.
Yeah. Well, this is,
I don't want to make a decision.
and yet you are a
I mean, I
business
do,
owner.
but
And yet
yeah.
you are a very successful business owner who makes decisions all the time, right? It's almost like, you know, certain types of decisions I'm okay to make. But
Yeah.
those levels of this, you know, the level of decisions that is required, you know, on a personal level, that's no, I'm just going to keep circling in circles and allow, subconsciously, of course, to allow this to drain the energy of me.
Yeah. I mean, like, even today, like, in my business, like, these are the type of decisions that like drain me alongside the, you know, just deciding things for my kids. Like, I did a beautiful family shoot of a mom who had lost a child at he was 3, and she was bringing a new life into the world. And, you know, even the post, I was like, should I even write this? Like, is this my place? Like, it was nothing bad. It actually was beautiful. Like, I felt like I'm really good with words, and, you know, I wasn't, you know, I was totally in my head over, should I write this? Should I not write this? Like, is this gonna make someone mad, or is it gonna make her cry? Like, you know, and I couldn't decide. Like, so it took me an hour, and I lost that hour with my kids that I had this morning, fretting about, you know, are my feelings correct? If that makes sense.
So do you mean, so I'm just going to reframe it a little bit. Do you mean to say if your intuition was correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Intuition about putting this out there, or about actually describing it in words?
About putting it out there.
And what did you end up doing?
I ended up putting it out there because last night I asked her if I could share some of the photos, and she said yes. And, you know, I know her story, and, you know, sometimes I wonder if I'm overstepping my bounds with storytelling, but that's what I am. And I never would, you know, do anything to harm anything, just like my kids. Like, I mean, I even read about, am I feeding them too much macaroni and cheese?
Right. But do you see how this is kind of easy in a way? Because there is kind of like an external person who you could just easily ask. And if she says yes, then you go and you do it. It is a little bit different with decisions that you need to make with your own self. Right? Did you breastfeed your other kids?
For about 3 to 4 months. And it was really interesting. The first one, I just decided that no one knew what they were talking about, as far as consistency. And, you know, so I ended up weaning him at the time that my weddings were starting, because I was like, well, this is just like a lost cause. He was probably the shortest, actually, breastfed. Because I was really, I want to say, like, I did not want help from anyone. I could not accept help at that point in my life.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't listen to what anyone told me, nothing like that. The twins, I felt like that was the strongest I've ever been in my life. Makes me want to cry now. Because, you know, not knowing you're pregnant for twins for half of the pregnancy and just continuing on, and then, you know, all of the things that could go wrong with them. And I just accepted help, all the help that I could get. And they thrived. And it was like, you know, I think that point in my life, I trusted myself more than I ever had. You know, I took a sleep training course. I breastfed them for as long as I could, solely, which was only probably about a month or two. And then I had to get supplementation because, I mean, there were two of them and they were huge and they ate a ton. And, you know, I added formula in, and then I found someone with goat's milk, a lady I trust so much. And, you know, I was getting goat's milk every week, and they were so healthy, and they still are. They're like my healthiest little boys ever. They're healthier than the first one. And then, this, you know, this baby, it's like, I just am tripping over myself.
Yeah.
About everything. I mean, the twins, it was almost like I stood so tall in my decisions and everyone followed me.
And where were you with your business? Was there even a question like today?
You know, it was interesting, because my husband was like, I was actually in a really bad place in my business when I was pregnant with him because I was so far behind. And I was brutally honest with my clients, and I just said, I am terribly sorry. Please do not hate me. I have not been getting your stuff done because I am so sick and I'm terrified because I had placenta previa too. You know, and everyone was so kind and like, Melissa, just get us our stuff when you can, right? And my husband's like, Melissa, you need to take off time with these twins. So I made a deliberate decision to take 6 months off of work, and only email was all I did. And I started my weddings. My business, I actually made more in that 6 months than I ever did working my ass off year round. And I gave like, and that was like one of those lean into the uncomfortableness moments, you know, like not working and trying to, you know, you're like, okay, just the money just showed up somehow. It was weird, you know. And my business kept going. My business, I was terrified that people would forget who I was. I'd be out of business. And I gave so much to those twins. And my business actually thrived because of it. But I'm having that struggle this go around because I feel like it's go time in my business, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I really haven't given, I feel like comparing to the twins, like I've given them so much more than what I've given this baby. I mean, this baby wasn't planned. I didn't acknowledge the pregnancy for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And like going into the bonding thing, I mean, you know, you feel like you failed your kid just because I didn't enjoy my pregnancy like I wanted to. Like I'm looking back thinking, Melissa, like what the hell? Like why didn't you just enjoy it? You know, it's easy, hindsight's 2020, right?
Right.
But I guess that's like where I'm coming to is like I feel like every pregnancy and each kid I can say, oh, I've done this before. But then when I get here, I'm like, this is nothing like it was with the twins. With the twins, it was like, this is nothing like it was with Gus, right? So I think I'm just like kind of looking like I've always been a person of, oh, I've done that, I could do this again. And I'm in such a different place in my life each time. It's like a whole new experience, and I'm having a hard time accepting that.
Right. So, yeah. So can I share something with you just as you're talking? I have a piece of paper here. And what I did is I don't know, just intuitively, I wrote number 1 and then 11. So to stand for your twins. So number 1 signifies a boy. Number 2 would signify a girl. And so I wrote down 1 and then 1 to signify your twins, and then 1 again. And so, and this comes from Kabbalah, which is the Jewish mystic Bible, mysticism, all of that. So without getting too much into it, what's interesting is that when I write it this way, what I see is, first of all, there are 4 number 1s. Okay, so there's 1 and then 1, 1, and then 1 again at the bottom. But when I sum them, the total comes to be 4. And 4 is a number that signifies wholeness, right? So if you think about like a box, right? It has four sides. Or if you think about the year, we have 4 cycles. We have 4 seasons. You know, the menstrual cycle is women. We have 4 cycles. Number 4 is a very sacred number for women. And so it looks like in your life, Melissa, through your children and even through their birth order, you have been given this this amazing balancing act in terms of the dynamics and what's going on to show you what's possible, what is out there, right? So it's almost like a lesson for you. Are you familiar with the work of Dr. Shefali Tabari, the conscious parent?
Yes, I really like her.
Yeah. So you know how she says that every child brings with them a teaching. So in that sense, every child is a teacher, which completely, by the way, reframes and changes the way we see our children, right? As opposed to seeing them as, oh, this poor kid, you know, I'm not giving him as much as I was giving them, and like, poor child, I'm screwing them up, like, oh, you know. Instead of doing this, when you're reframing and seeing, oh my goodness, this child is showing me, you know, so these twins had shown me what's possible to me when I surrender and release, and when I lean in and ask for help. And that's, I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when you felt, and you should have felt, the most authentic and real. And now you're back to almost like square one. It's almost like you're back to how you were with your first baby.
Yeah.
And so there is this beautiful, even if I take my pen and I draw number 8, it beautifully encompasses all these numbers. So there is just such a beautiful balance in your family with your mothering. And what this means, bottom line, Melissa, is that this is here to stay. So you better accept it, embrace it, because this is your teaching. This is what's going to get you to where you want to go. Right? It's this constant surrendering and releasing, and then FOMO, and then again releasing, and then FOMO again, and then again being afraid, and then, you know, and then again releasing. It's that constant dance between you know, achieving and just moving through life so that you feel more and more expansive. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Did I confuse you?
It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but yeah, it makes sense. I mean, when you said like, yeah, the twins was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through.
But then,
And
but yet you were also the strongest, the strongest.
Yeah. I mean, I was just feeding Ike last night because, you know, I feel so bad because I'm like, he's not sleeping and he wakes up once in the middle of the night to eat, and he's only 3 months. And I'm like, I remember going up there and I was like, how did I do this with the twins? Like, how?
Yeah. Right. Let me share with you something. It's from my own personal life, and it's not to say that, you know, oh, your experience is not as valuable. Of course it is. It's just that there comes a moment, and I think, you know, what bothers me the most in the world of health and nutrition and fitness and just, you know, well-being, wellness, is that nobody talks about how while you are bringing life, birthing life, how depleted you are as a human being. I remember myself, not only was I depleted nutritionally, you know, I was also depleted very much energetically. And only now am I kind of like picking up and feeling human again. Right?
Yeah.
So in the span, in a time frame of 10 years, I've been pregnant and giving birth, pregnant and giving birth, and pregnant and giving birth. I've done it 3 times. And if you think that on a biological, physical level, this doesn't have any significance, you are very, very wrong. And a lot of those things, it's just, you know, nutritionally, hormonally, we just need time. We just need time to restore. You know, that's the beauty of living in alignment with with the rhythm. That's the beauty, you know. And what's amazing is that as women, we have that encoded in our body, right? It's just part of how we are. And the time of our bleed, it's the time for restoration.
Yeah.
You know, so have you gotten your period yet?
I did. I got it for the first time last month.
Okay. So your body is communicating with you. Number 1, it's producing less milk. Number 2, you've gotten your menstruation back. So what is your body saying? Forget about the head. Forget about the regret. Forget about the missing out. Forget about the fear. Forget about the Mexican food.
Right?
Right? This is all in the head, right? This is how we shoulda, woulda, coulda. Forget about that. We're back to embodying. We are back to being in the body and listening to the wisdom of the body. So I'm going to ask you this question again. There's no regret. There's in front of you, you and you. Okay, I'm not going to bring God into the picture again because I'm not God. You and you. It's just you. What is your body communicating? What is it telling you?
You know, I think it's telling me that motion is constant. And I think it's telling me, you know, that it's time to move on in ways that I don't know how, but it's trying to show me. And I need to move. Like that just keeps coming up, and not move in the sense of let's get shit done. Like
yes,
move in the sense of joy.
yeah.
Like move in the sense of like giving myself the grace of doing doing less but being purposeful. Like
Yes.
not being reckless. Like, I mean, like right now my house is a mess, which it's okay, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm, you know, like I'm going to say,
Yeah.
hey, like when you have a moment like where it feels good to pick up, you're going to pick up. You're not going to force it. You're not going to force feeding, then pumping, then a bottle.
Right.
I think like I really need to find the joy in this time,
Right.
like through movement, if that makes sense.
It does, but you're again in your head. What this means, and it's so hard for me to say because I started my career as a pediatric nutritionist, as somebody who's supposed to teach parents to how to feed their kids.
Yeah.
So it's super hard for me, but I have to say that, again, it's hard for me to say it because I don't want to make this decision for you. But for me, as somebody who's been, kind of like seeing you from the side, it's very clear that it is time. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You might want to just repeat that.
Oh, I was saying that it's hard for me to make assumptions and to speak instead of you.
Yeah.
But every time I ask you the question, you're going back into your head. So I'm just going to say it. Okay. And I say it as a pediatric nutritionist, and I say it as an embodiment coach. It is very clear to me that your body is screaming, enough with this breastfeeding. Enough. Energetically, physically, it's not doing good to you or to Ike, to your baby. So, but do you see how, like, it was just in my body right now. I've had this almost like an electrical shock because this is such a charged topic. Like, how dare you tell to a mother to stop breastfeeding her child? Right?
Yeah.
Like, who does that? It's illegal.
Yeah.
But that mother what matters is not what is coming out of your boob. What matters is how, it's like you said, it's that energy. It's the presence that matters. That matters. That if you're if you see your parenting as an opportunity for building relationships and having an amazing family, which I believe that you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here on this call with me, right? Because I do know that you are a very conscious mother, you are a conscious parent, then I know it matters. So if guilt or regret, FOMO, or not giving him or not messing him up or not giving him what you have given to your boys, to your twins, if all this wasn't, couldn't have that control over you, right?
Yeah.
Then making that decision would be easy.
Part of me just like it just like it feels like, did I not try hard enough? I mean, and I'm just being totally honest here.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I mean, to be honest, like, I mean, I'm not the person who's breastfed my kids for a year. And this like conversation is so hard. I've been crying the whole time. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I put such a pedestal up for this topic in my life.
Well, I think as mothers, the topic of breastfeeding, it's a huge topic. It's a huge topic. And it's not that you have chosen it. It's not that you have pedestaled it. It's just, that's the culture. That's the conditioning. And that coupled with the fact that this is natural, quote unquote, right? That's how we're supposed to feed our babies, our children, our offsprings. You know, if that comes with ease and flow and fun and joy and presence, then by all means, please continue. That's the best. There's nothing better for your baby. But if that brings so much turmoil and depletion, physical and energetic, for you and for your family and for the baby, then is it worth it? You know, I was just talking to my mom the other day, and I asked her, like, Mom, because I grew up in former USSR, and that time it wasn't even an option. Bottle feeding wasn't even an option. You know, it wasn't even an option. So imagine mothers literally didn't have an option. They had to breastfeed.
Yeah.
But in our days, and I was so lucky that this was an option for me, because I literally couldn't. For me, it was colostrum, and that's it. With my first. You know, with my second and my third, I did produce some milk, but again, like yourself, just for 3 months. And then I switched to bottle feeding. And I had to, you know, with every child, it was easier for me to do, but I just had to do it. It's almost like I had to close the book and put it aside. That's it. It's and like you said, and then to be able to move to the next thing. As opposed to linger, right? Because that lingering sucks the life out of you.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
So, like, you know, in one of our conversations, you asked me about surrender and release. How does it even look like? This is how it looks like. It's making a decision, closing the book, putting it away. That's it.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, big breath. And again, it's not, you know, you do with this what you do. Again, it's almost like I'm putting it back on you, because this is your life. It's your life, right? But what I want, and what my mission is, and what this podcast is all about, is giving mothers the tools and the support that they need, so that they can fully show up for themselves, take back their own power, right? Don't look for this power outside of you. The power is inside of you. And then to almost like master it, so that you can show up your very best for your family.
Okay.
You know, the conversation would be completely different if you were single and didn't have any dependents. But you do, you know, and it matters how you show up. It matters how you manage your energy, and how you eat, and how you support yourself, and how you take care of yourself. All of that matters.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. Yeah.
When you, yeah.
I see. I hear your babies are home.
They just got home.
That's amazing.
Actually, I knew we were friends for a reason, huh?
Yes.
How
do you feel?
You know, I'm still processing. Mm-hmm. Like, if that makes sense. Like,
absolutely, of course. It's a big decision. Yeah.
It's like I've been just feeding in the morning and at night.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, feeding bottle. And then on top of it, you know, it's like he's hungry, but he doesn't want to eat everything. Right. And then I don't know how much he got from me. So it's just like this huge guessing game. And then I'm like resistant to go to bed, because I'm like, well, he's going to wake up in an hour, and then he doesn't. And then I'm like, why didn't I go to bed?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot to think about with that statement just right there. The fact of I'm trying to control so much.
Right.
Do you hear the pots and pans flying in the background?
I do. And it's funny, because it's like you're trying to control the uncontrollable.
Yeah.
You know, this is not something that you can control, Melissa.
Yeah.
You know, so if energy matters, if and you know that you have a limited amount of it, and we'll wrap up in a second, but if that matters, then something has to go. It's like it's like eating the cake but leaving it whole. It's impossible. It's impossible to do.
Yeah, I just need to learn how to eat my cake and have it too in a different way. enjoy my cake as I'm eating it.
Exactly. That is what you need to do. You need to eat the cake, but also enjoy it, and then poop it out. Move on with your life.
Move on to the next cake.
Move on to the next cake. Exactly. I'm glad that we're wrapping this up with laughter and humor, because really this is how, as wise mothers, as wise women, this is how we process things. When things are too serious, it's almost like, oh my gosh, it's like a life and death thing. No, bring some humor, laugh about it, shake it off, and move on to the next thing. And I promise you, you're going to be okay. And your baby is going to be okay. And it's all going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will all be good.
It will all be good.
I think it's just a matter of, like you said, like, stop getting in my head and really just, I have a lot of work to do, if that makes sense. And not like, just sitting in my thought.
Right. And the process of embodiment, actually how to do it, it's practice. And that's what I teach. That's what I do in the work that I do with women. So it is not something that you can assume, oh, okay, but then how? There is a how. But the how takes time. It takes time. It takes practice, and it takes support, and it takes commitment. Right? Embodiment it's one of the, in my personal life, this changed my view, my mindset, the way I show up completely. It's like 180 degrees. But it did take me, time, a long time.
Nothing. I think that's why they called usually old people wise. Not every old person is wise, but it's because it takes time.
Right.
Like there are the few.
Yes.
But they're usually very present.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at this little guy waking up, and he's just so precious. Oh,
yeah. He's so cute. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy you. And then everything will fall into place.
Okay. I will do that. Probably need some reminders.
Yeah, you can do this. You've got this.
Yeah, it'll be good. So.
All right. So thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing your story. This was such a fun coaching session. I felt like it is an important topic that, as somebody who services mothers, I feel like I have to share. And so thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing. Guys, can you relate to Melissa? And I only laugh, not to belittle anybody, but just because I feel like when we exhale and laugh and use humor as a way to dissolve, some difficult emotions and feelings, it is a great way to do so. So I am giving myself the permission to just exhale. But can you guys relate to Melissa? Do you feel like your business or your sacred work is interrupted by feeding your child, by breastfeeding? Do you also struggle with embodying the fact that this baby might be your last one and that you won't have another chance? another chance to hold a little baby, to feed that baby, to nurse that baby, to connect that baby, to just kind of like, feel that tenderness that there is, that you can feel with a little one. Does your baby also arch its back screaming, and all you hear around is the well-meaning but not so helpful advice of just breastfeed more, your baby's hungry, you need to feed it. Were you also hoping to enjoy breastfeeding your baby, but the reality is that you feel like it's a job and it doesn't really feel like it's fun? So, like I said to Melissa, I feel like it's 50% of the work to just first admit something, right? Before you make any decisions. First admit, what is the problem? Where is the source of the problem, right? Do you feel like your business is another child and that it requires a lot of your energy and bandwidth? And do you also feel like you have to make a choice between breastfeeding and your work? Is your business your first baby where you feel really present and expressed, and it's really hard for you to let go of because it means to really give up on yourself on some kind of a level, on some deep level? So all these questions are super important to ruminate with. I even highly encourage you to take a journal and to just jot down and answer these questions for yourself and with yourself, and see what comes up for you. Engage your inner wise mother. She's definitely there to support you and to give you some insights. So let's talk a little bit about Melissa's key insights and ahas. So the reason Melissa is afraid of change is rooted in her inability to trust and surrender to whatever life is calling her, right? At this moment, she's called to be present with the kids and to feed her child. And, that attachment to feeding can only, feeding a baby can only be done one way. I felt like the fear of change is really to be able to trust the fact that feeding can be done differently, and not all of your kids have to be fed in the same way, right? Even if you had a really positive experience with with one baby, or in Melissa's case, it was with the twins, it doesn't mean that this particular baby has to have the same experience, right? I have 3 girls, I have 3 kids, and all of them are very, very, very different. And I'm sure you can relate if you're raising more than one child. Another insight was that Melissa said herself that she needs to learn to heal from, or in my language, to embody what's wrong with being hungry at times, right? There's more than just one way to eat and feed and feel nourished and feel fulfilled. And there's just more than one way than breastfeeding, right? There's more than just like she said, chicken enchiladas. And I totally agree. That's true. This is another. I feel like another skill in this world, in this place of being able to master your emotions and master your feelings, and really connect between how you feel and how you want to feel, how you feel right now in this moment, and how you want to feel long term, right? And then from that place to make your final decision, if you will. She also has to learn how to accept what happened and how to answer to herself and take responsibility on her own wants, her own needs and desires that might collide with other people's needs and wants. Even if this is your child or baby, whenever the mother has to choose for herself, we feel trapped because our needs are not good enough or not justified enough. But as you saw in this case, if the mother is not fulfilled, if she's not happy, if she's not joyful, then what is the point of all of this? Why did we even have children in the first place, right? So again, this entire process has to begin with the well-being of the mother, of the mom, and then everybody else will thrive. Okay. Also, one really cool thing that happened on this call was that when Melissa did surrender and she did release and embrace the difficulty of raising her twins, her business actually flourished and thrived. So surrender and release is in complete contrast to control, for example, right? That was something that she felt like she deeply needs to do. If it's not done my way, then it's really, really, really hard for me to let go. And in a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit more about surrender and release. Just for the time being, I wanted to highlight the fact that actually when we do surrender, when we do kind of release and trust, things do fall into place and do feel like they are actually better. Also, I talked a little bit with Melissa about the fact when we birth little humans, our bodies are depleted nutritionally, and we are just not taught how to replenish ourselves, how to eat, how to connect with other people, how to ask for help, how to take care of ourselves, right? Because all the focus immediately is becoming on the baby, right? So the baby becomes the focal point, and all we want to do is just to make sure that we can keep this baby alive, and over time we forget about ourselves. So I just wanted you guys to be super conscious about the fact that as mothers, that birth babies, our bodies actually go through a very serious bodily event, birth. And so keep that in mind, because many times the way we feel could be actually a result of a hormonal imbalance, right? So we are human beings, but we are also hormonal beings, and it's very important to understand what happens biologically. Also, your body is communicating with you. You produce less milk and you've gotten your period back. And I speak directly to Melissa. And so can it be that it is telling you to stop breastfeeding? Could that be, your kind of like a message from your higher self that really on a deeper level, you really would like to stop breastfeeding and to feed your baby, in a different way, in this case through a bottle feeding. Okay. Also, you need to, Melissa realized that she needs to move in the direction of joy, to give herself the grace of doing less, but also being purposeful about her actions. All right, now let's get into the practical and tangible suggestions that I have for Melissa and you that you can try so that you can start embodying self-trust and feel really connected to yourself, and to be able to make decisions or to be able to discern between what feels right for you right now in your current life and what doesn't. And even if it's a really, really difficult decision like it is in this case. So Melissa asked this question: how to embody and how to embody surrender and release, really. So first, let's talk about what does surrender even mean. In short, it means getting out of your own way. Okay? It means allowing the divine or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in to take the lead and not try to control or manipulate your circumstances. Because when something is out of your hands, like in Melissa's case, her body is not producing enough milk to feed her baby, right? So there are a lot of things that are going to be outside of your locus of control, right? But what you can control is how you respond, how you react, how do you engage in the situation, what kind of actions do you take, who do you choose to support, where do you spend your dollars. That kind of stuff you still can do in order to feel in control, right? But all the other things are really outside of your locus of control, right? So this is where you will have to become uber intentional and deliberate and make a decision that even though might not feel good at the moment, it will give you space. It will give you freedom and the creative force to be the mother and the business owner that you want to become. Because at the end of the day, if breastfeeding doesn't bring you as much joy as it used to as it used to in the past, then ask yourself, is it worth it? Right? And then also remember this, and maybe that is something that is worth sharing. Maybe even snap a picture of this, of you yourself listening to the podcast, and share it on Instagram and tag me. So you can find me at Dorit Palvanov. Here's a great line to share. Remember that control is a fear-based, is a fear and stress response. And surrender and release is a trust response, right? So whenever we feel afraid or stressful, that stems from the need to control, right? And then that need to control comes again from almost like being in this kind of like survival mode, right? As opposed to when you surrender and you release, you really trust and you just believe that it's going to be okay. That's why in the coaching session, I brought quote unquote God into the picture, because I know Melissa is a believer. And so that is a great exercise to be able to give, the difficult decisions into the higher power and allow that to lead and guide you. Another thing is, Melissa mentioned that she's not very good at change, or she's not very good with change. In other words, she's basically saying that she's not good at adapting or being flexible when life asks her to morph. So for Melissa, this is manifested in her feeling torn between her role as a business owner who does work that she loves to do, and then being a mother, which has its own set of requirements. She didn't necessarily use these words, but I'm filling in the blank here. The truth is that there is a difference between big breakthroughs and small incremental changes over time, which are the ones that create long-term sustainable healing, growth, and change, right? So what is required of Melissa really, right? Is it to be able to mother her child? Right? Feeding is a part of mothering in a way that is right for everyone and not just for her. Right? This is what is really required of her. She is required to be able to be flexible with the idea that there is not just one way to feed a baby. And given the circumstances and the fact that there are 4 little humans under the age of 3 who need her, to have the mental capacity and the physical energy to show up for them. Okay? And then the other thing is, excuse me, when it comes to using the wisdom of your body, try this. Ask yourself, how does control feel in your body? How does it feel in your body when you are trying to control things? Do you feel expansive and open, or do you feel constricted and debilitated? Tune into the wisdom of your body and follow its cues. It is really, really, really an incredible way to keep yourself and pace yourself, right? So just stop everything, especially when you're panicking and feeling like you're losing your mind, and just ask this question. Right now, I feel like I want to control things. How does control feel in my body? And then start writing down the answers in your journal, right? Your journal, or this act of journaling, is your best coaching. It's your best coach. This is where you will find the answers from. All right. And then the other thing is kind of like bringing it back into the surrender and release conversation. You can use this mantra. It is safe to let go of what no longer serves me, along with practicing yoga daily. So as you move through the practice, continually say this and recite this in your head. I actually recommend saying this, not just reciting, actually not just like thinking it, but actually saying it with your mouth. It is safe to let go of what no longer serves me, right? And then the other thing is, it would also be interesting to explore why Melissa puts breastfeeding on the same level as her business. So I think it would be a good idea to ask yourself the question, and Melissa, this is for you. What is my current relationship to money? What is my current relationship to health, or even your body image, right? In many cases, when you do give yourself the time and space to dig into these questions in your journal, you will get to the core of it, which would often be, like always, unworthiness, like feeling not good enough, or not healthy enough, or you would feel fear, maybe abandonment or scarcity, because the opposite of control is surrender, right? So again, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. When you want to control, this is rooted in fear and scarcity and stress. But when you surrender, that comes from trust and the ability to just flow with life and with the cycle of life, right? That ebbs and flows. So whenever you have a challenge in your life, use the wisdom of your body and get out of your head, right? Get out of your head, use the wisdom of the body, and then give yourself the space to do whatever the body is instructing you and guiding you to do. Also, use humor and laughter to dissolve the charge from difficult moments in life. At the end of the day, life is built from moments, and the beauty is in realizing that challenge and struggle is just a moment, just like joy and fulfillment is. This is not an eternal state of being, right? As human beings, we have feelings, and many times what we really need is to allow time to heal and do the work. So in Melissa's case, it is evident that she is in the trenches, and this is hard, right? I'm not going to pretend that it's not. It is life sucking, it is joy sucking, it is soul sucking, or at least it feels like. But in these moments, also lives beauty and tenderness and vulnerability, pure authenticity, along with cute little bumps and smiles and hugs. And as mothers, we all know how it feels to love so hard that your heart almost explodes, and at the same time to be angry, exhausted, and resentful. And this is a skill that you develop in motherhood. And you need to learn this to help yourself to get to the next level of emotional mastery, right? And why is this needed? Think about this, right? It is needed so that you are able to support your children, who will have so many moments where they feel like they don't understand what is going on inside of their bodies, why they feel like they want to scream, hit, pinch, grab, or hurt someone they love. Right? And the point here is that to do something bad or negative to somebody that they love, it's easier to hurt somebody you hate, but it's difficult to hurt somebody you actually love. And children learn best through modeling, and in this case, by watching you. So drop the idea that you have to be so strong or perfect that they will never see you cry or lose your shit. This is an illusion, right? So yes, you do have to be composed and grounded, but not all the time. It is okay to have a meltdown and have a tantrum, but then you have to be able to pick yourself back up and show up for yourself and also for them. This is how children learn emotional mastery from us, one mom, one day at a time. All right, so give yourself the space to do just that. And I wanted to keep you updated and informed that I have connected with Melissa after the session, after our coaching session. And I was so happy to hear that she came up with a really cool and creative solution that is in alignment with who she is. So she decided to let breastfeeding go, even though it was difficult and painful, but she did it. And she decided to use her work skills, so her photography skills, in order to remember the process. So she said that she will videotape the last time she feeds and nurses her baby, and so she can watch it again and remember that precious moment. And it was so funny because as I was listening to her sharing about it, I thought that, this is so incredible, because we started the coaching session with feeling like breastfeeding competes with your business. But maybe in this place, this would be the only time when breastfeeding didn't have to compete with her business, or vice versa, because it is done at the same time. And that, I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so before I am wrapping this up, I wanted to remind everybody, if you feel like this coaching session was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need somebody to ask me these questions, I need somebody to help me to make some order of the chaos that happens in my life and to feel more connected and more embodied, then the Health Begins with Mom Mastery experience is for you. The Health Begins with Mom Mastery coaching program is my signature program. It is a 6 months incubator to help you break free from anything that is holding you back from shining your true light as a woman, wife, and a mother. What you've heard today is an example of how I work with women and how each coaching session feels and sounds like. In this program, I am going to hold your hand, and together we're going to do the work that you are afraid to do on your own. Or maybe even, it's kind of like we're all procrastinators. So we feel like, we'll do it later. But really now, this is, especially when you mother, and if you feel like your life is really chaotic and you've done some work, you've done some personal development work, but you feel still like it's really hard for you to integrate the knowledge and the information into your life and make the best of it. And the word that I use is embody, right? So it's hard for you to feel like you actually embody and own this practice. So if you feel like this speaks to you, this speaks to your heart, it speaks to your gut, then I highly encourage you to check this out. In this program, I will mother you, I will love on you, I will nurture you, I will teach you how to live in alignment with your feminine energy, how to balance your hormones, how to expand your emotional mastery container. You'll also learn how to negotiate with your inner critic so that it no longer controls you and your actions. You will learn how to be more discerning, how to be more in your own power, how to feel connected to who you are, so that you don't feel like you doubt yourself or think too much. This is really a process of learning how to feel more and think less, right? If you will. You'll also learn how to heal your mother wound and to become really the woman, wife, and mother that deep down inside you know that you are destined to be. This is a one-on-one work, so it is not done in a group. You will get 100% attention from me in this process. This work is sacred and it is dedicated to your healing. I want you to take a stand for yourself courageously so that you can show up your very best as a woman, as a wife, and a mother. And so again, if this is something that you would like to explore, head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply, and we'll get on the phone and see if we're a good fit and if this is the right thing for you. All right, my love. I hope you enjoyed the session and the breakdown and all of that. And if you enjoy the show and you feel called to help me share this message with more moms and women, please write an honest review on iTunes. This is the best way of showing your appreciation and also showing me that you care about this message, and these words help you become a better version of who you are as a woman, wife, and a mother. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being a listener and for showing up, for choosing yourself every single day, because guess what? You matter. You are worthy, you are divine, you are a child of God. So I'm sending you off with much love and healing, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.